Welcome back to the Fleet, where we do daily anime and manga related content, mainly focusing on One Piece. But for today's video, I'm going to be switching it up and I'm going to be reviewing slash recapping season 2 of Vinland Saga. So let's get right into it. So, season 2 of Vinland Saga, episode 1, I thought it was a nice opening. It set the tone for what season 2 is really all about. Like finding yourself, calm, learning things, figuring out the world, things of that nature. And it also deviated from the manga a little bit because they actually show Einar and his family's backstory, which was really not in the manga that much. I do have to say the animation is very, very nice and crisp. Of course, it's animated by Mappa, and we all know what Mappa is capable of. But I thought the animation was pretty solid. It wasn't too much action in these episodes. Episode 1 and 2 is not too much action. If you read the manga, you know what's to come. So I'm pretty excited about what's coming. But I thought it was pretty cool how they demonstrated how Einar lost everything in his path to being just a farmhand, and now he's a slave, and he's lost his family, his mom, and the last thing that his mom instilled in him was this will to live, because if you survive, then we haven't lost. As long as you're breathing and living, we haven't lost. And I really enjoyed that message. And then we saw how Einar literally watching his family die in front of him, he sort of got PTSD, and it's like we realized this, and it wasn't that well demonstrated in the manga, but we kind of had to infer that maybe he had went through something traumatic. But in the anime, they actually showed his PTSD and showed how he's becoming detached, and he's just seeing the world for how cruel it is, and how the world would just eat you up and swallow you whole and just cast you aside. You just a pawn basically in the hands of people more powerful than you. I thought they did a good job, presenting that slave auction and everything, and then we got to see that cool interaction between Leaf and Einar, which comes into play later on. So just be mindful of that I thought it was cool how Leaf thought that the slavers thought that Einar was the person that Leaf was looking for, but in actuality it's really Thorfinn, and he said that's not Thorfinn. So then when Einar actually got to the farm, he met Thorfinn, and I'm not sure that he made that connection like, yo, is someone looking for you? But either way, I thought that was a pretty cool, overall moment right there. And for episode 1, I thought episode 1 overall was a good, solid episode. I thought they made a few changes from the manga, but I thought the changes that they made was for the better, because it provides that backstory for Einar, and it also gives some context as to the things he's been through and the way he thinks about war and warriors and stuff. And that's what leads us into episode 2. So episode 2 pretty much starts off just like the manga. Thorfinn, Einar cutting down trees, clearing the farmland, things of that nature. And as I was watching this, I was just thinking to myself, like, it really is cool that like we actually get to see this stuff animated, because it's one thing to just read it on the page, but then it's another thing to actually see it become animated and actually see the characters moving and the actions and the things that we read come to life. So I thought that was a pretty cool moment. And then it was just refreshing. Like, it was really refreshing to see Thorfinn. And we know what Thorfinn has been through. He's lived a chaotic life his whole life, basically, from the time he was like 6 years old when his father died. And I thought they did a good job of like showing how Thorfinn is just lost and confused, and like he's lost and confused, yet he doesn't have a meaning to life, and he's just existing basically. He's just a person existing in a world where things happen around him, and whatever happens to him is what happens to him. Like, he just doesn't even care anymore. He's not passionate about anything. He's totally forgot who he was and what was his whole point of even going on his rampage and stuff. And I think that had a lot to do with Ocelot, because if you remember when Ocelot died, he literally told Thorfinn, what now? What are you gonna do now? You have to figure out your life now. What are we gonna do after me? I'm dead now. You can't just live trying to kill me. And then he says that, a true warrior thing And, you know, that's something that we'll see later on, but I just thought it was pretty good to see Thorfinn just in that state of just despair and just lost. Doesn't even know, he doesn't know, he just doesn't care. He get treated like a slave. He could care less about anything. He doesn't have any complaints, any gripes, nothing. He's just a person existing. And I also thought they did in episode 2, they really did a good job of demonstrating Einar's passion of wanting to be free and wanting to live and realizing that there's more to life than being a slave, because it was so different compared to Thorfinn, who just goes along with anything. Like I said, he's just living in the matrix. It's just another day, another task, whatever he got to do, he just does it without even thinking about anything. You know, the farm life is so different compared to that chaotic upbringing that Thorfinn suffered all through season 1 and, you know, all through the first part of the manga and everything like that. But, you know, of course, Omar, you know, the son of Kettle, Omar, just like in the manga, Omar is an even bigger clown in the anime, because we actually get to hear him talking, get to realize how ungrateful he is. He just doesn't understand how good he has it. I understand he wants to be his own man and things of that nature, but at the same time, bro, you're more blessed than pretty much everybody around you, yet you're the only one who doesn't see it. Always has this desire to prove himself when no one is asking him to prove himself, you know? Everybody knows that he's the one to inherit the farm. He's just the only one that doesn't want to step into that role and fill those shoes from his father, you know? But overall, I would say the season is definitely starting off, you know, at a good pace, and I like the direction they're going. I expect the animation, of course, you know the animation is going to be off the charts in the second half of the season when we get to some of the action and stuff. I won't spoil it for you guys that haven't read the manga, but just know you're definitely in store for something crazy, and, you know, I expect some beautiful, beautiful, crisp animation scenes, especially from Mappa. So I'm really looking forward to that. You know, I also like how they added the small touches. They added small touches that just enhanced the overall story. And, you know, even if it wasn't in the manga, the small touches, it gives great context, you know, the characters and everything that's going on. And, you know, my last point, the episode 2 ended with Einar giving a speech about war and warriors. And, you know, he was so passionate, and his hate was just so evident in his rage, and just, you can tell because we got that backstory. We know how he sees war firsthand. Instead of being the aggressor, as in Thorfinn's case, he was actually the victim, you know, the person who got took advantage of. He's not a warrior. He doesn't know how to fight. But Thorfinn, on the other hand, is the total opposite. He's been a warrior since a young child. He's killed countless people. He's done the worst of the worst things. All the things that Einar talked about that he hated about war and warriors, Thorfinn firsthand has done some of all these things. So, you know, it was a great moment because Thorfinn finally got to see the other perspective of the things he was doing. You know, he got to see the perspective of a person who wasn't in his shoes, who wasn't being the aggressor, who wasn't trying to take over villages. He got to see the perspective of someone who was a victim, someone who was he caused all this destruction, and now he get to see how his destruction can affect someone. And, you know, that plays a major portion into his development as a character as we move through the season. But this was just a recap and a review of episode 1 and 2. Expect more of these videos to come out as the season progresses, you know, and that's all we got for today. Fleet out.